Yeah, I don't really see how the Constitution is relevant to filming in courtroom.
Hey everybody, it's Gavin Seim, and I wanted to give you an update on the appeal for Tel Chastain today. We went up with Stephen Pidgeon to the Douglas County Superior Court in front of Judge Hotchkiss today. Remember his name. Now, here's essentially what happened. I'm going to give it to you in brief. This court, like the rest of the Douglas County courts, is completely lawless. Judge Hotchkiss is a lackey for the prosecution in Douglas County, playing crony politics. Even the defense attorneys that were local who were up there, and the public defender and the judge, they're talking and they're bantering. The judge is up on the bench when you can hear him, because most of the time he's up there leaning back in his chair, lounging and mumbling in a barely audible fashion. At one point, he's making a joke as they're dealing with another case, and the prosecution's saying, for whatever reason, we're going to drop this. And the judge makes a crack and says something to the effect of, well, we have him now. Why should we let him go? The attitude of this Judge Hotchkiss, who, if you met him on the street, would seem like a perfectly reasonable person. In fact, this is the judge that married some of my brothers and their wives back years ago. This is a county superior court judge that is well known. You get in this chambers, you get in his courtroom, and this man thinks he is God. The Constitution doesn't matter, justice doesn't matter, conscience doesn't matter, and his oath does not matter. But he does it, by George, politely and nicely, to a point, until the judge says, is anybody recording this? And nobody says anything. And I say, may I? And he says, no. Because this judge thinks that he overrides the Constitution. This judge thinks that absolute law and liberty doesn't apply to him because the people of Douglas County are not holding this criminal accountable. Now let's get to the argument. Stephen Pidgeon brought a great argument, a constitutional argument. The Tel Chastain case is what started this whole incident that I'm involved in with the Douglas County courts. Most of you have seen the video of Douglas County officials attacking us in the courtroom at the behest of court officials and the corrupt district court judge, Judith McCauley. Now, of course, I went to trial on that last week under Judge Pro Se McMahon and was convicted, because you don't go into these courts to not get convicted. You go to these courts to get convicted. The judges are working with the prosecutors, are telling the juries what to do, are corrupting the justice. They don't care if there's error. They don't care if there's justice. In fact, I don't even think people appeal their cases. It's like the idea of these courts, when Stephen Pidgeon is up there making an argument, it's like the idea that his argument would be relevant and that they would make an error and that they would be unjust is foreign. Of course he's guilty because they said he's guilty. So Hotchkiss rejected the appeal with more error. And where we go from here, we'll have to see, because the further you go. Of course, there's cost every step of the way. We let our court system get so bad, get so immoral, get so corrupt. It is filled with judges like Judith McCauley, like Hotchkiss, people who think that they're above the common citizens. We are the serfs, and they come in their robes, and they sit in that chair, and they are God. But guess what? My God is up there, and he holds them accountable. And if I fail at their appeals, if I fail in their corrupt courts, even though we go in there and our attorney destroys the arguments of the prosecution, if I fail on that, I still have my appeal to heaven. And let me say to these judges, you will be held accountable for your corruption of justice. You will be held accountable for the violations of your oath. You will be held accountable for your perversion of truth in these courtrooms, where you are bound to be protecting and defending the liberty of this free people, and instead you persecute and injure and destroy liberty in these courtrooms. You are a shame to justice. Your disrespect of the people that you serve is a shame to liberty. And you do not act with honor in our courts. Consider the level of the corruption of justice that fills our country throughout the courts of this land. These judges should not even be hearing these cases from the prosecution. The moment they see the level of corruption happening in the courtroom, the moment Judge Hotchkiss saw the air, the pollution the tainting of the jury in the Chastain trial. The moment this judge saw what happened, it was all on record. It was all on video. The moment that came before him, he should have thrown it out. The judges are oath and duty bound. Their job is justice. They sit back. They have such disrespect for the crowd. I mean, they can't be bothered to sit up and speak into the microphone. They kind of lounge back in their chair like this, and they're like,
guilty. I don't really see how the Constitution is relevant to filming in courtroom. This is my courtroom, and I don't really see how that's an issue. Are you filming the proceedings in this courtroom? Well, turn it off!
You think this is disrespectful? You think this is disrespectful? This is what these judges are doing in our courtrooms where people's entire lives are at stake, America. This is the disrespect these people are showing. You think it's disrespectful when I sit back and I imitate the foolishness, the stench coming from the bench in our courtrooms from these judges? It is revolting. It is disgusting. People's lives are being destroyed. They are lining them up in these courtrooms as the prosecutor persecutes and the judge says guilty. That's what we've let America to become. And we have to fix it, America. We're a people of faith and peace and liberty. We're a people of freedom and justice, and we've let that justice fail. We've let that liberty go. Liberty has become something that's sitting up on dusty shelves and hidden away. You don't even get to approach. You go into those courtrooms, and you see what they're really doing to people's lives. You see the careless approach that they take with people's property and their possessions and their freedom being ripped away from them. Most of the time, they're being bullied into making plea deals. They don't even get a trial. And even when you get a trial, you don't get a jury of your peers. You don't get justice. You get railroaded. So you think this is justice? Are you celebrating when the so-called criminals are going to jail and saying, well, let's make the jails worse. We shouldn't even be paying for that. No, you shouldn't. Because those jails should not be full of Americans, most of which have hurt no one. So you need to ask yourself, will you stand or will you keep being silent?